All right, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Integrity Racing Show. I'm your host, Todd Thomas. Tonight, we're joined by League Administrator and owner Jacob Fife, and also League Administrator for primarily the Truck Series, but also helps out with the Cup Series. That James Hudson, a long figure in the series. So we'll talk to James a little bit here in just a second. We're here to recap the Integrity Racing League week this past Monday night at Loudon, where I was suspended along with like 19 other drivers. And also we'll recap, where was the Truck Series? At Pocono tonight. So we'll recap those series. But let's start, I know most of us are going to know James Hudson is somebody that's been a long-time figure in the league. But James, you've taken over an admin role in the Truck Series and kind of sponsored the Truck Series. Tell us how that came about and what the purposes were behind starting that Truck Series up.
Yeah, I obviously I'm not the most competitive in the Cup Series, and I do enjoy running the trucks. I don't get to run a whole lot during the week. I stay pretty daggone busy, so I really wanted to push. I know I kind of pushed Fife along a little bit on trying to get the Truck Series up and going, and so luckily I got him to do it, and figured why not help along and sponsor it. Use my up-and-coming business that I'm working on getting started, the All-In Restoration, to sponsor the league. So, yeah, I would say I've always wanted to really help more of what I, help as much as I can in the league. Fife does one hell of a job with running the league, and I figure if I can help out, I'd really like to. I've been around for a long time. I missed a year a couple years ago. But other than that, I've been here, I think, almost since the beginning of Integrity, and I really just wanted to get to where I could help out more.
Well, you mentioned the All-In Truck Series sponsorship and the new company that started up. Since you are the sponsor for the Truck Series the entire year, tell us a little bit about that company and what your goals are in that startup endeavor.
Yeah, it's mainly it's just restoration work on cars is what I'm trying to work into. Kind of getting started off first thing with doing a little repair work, whatever I can get in. Then eventually I'd like to get in focusing on flipping cars. I got a couple old 55 Fords and stuff like that. I really want to get flipped and turned around, maybe turn them into some drift trucks, or either like a little street ride project. Fix them, sell them, pretty much the basics of it. Really getting started. It's a whole lot harder than you'd think to get started. Takes a lot of money, a lot of time that you can't seem to find to get started. So, but we're getting there. I got the shop built. We're working on getting the lift in here soon, and then we'll start working on some projects. I got a 70s model Ford Bronco in there right now that my girlfriend's dad's let me fix and get back running right for him. And then he has another one close to the same year, I believe, that he wants to do a full restoration on. So I should get my hands on that pretty soon.
All right, you mentioned you're a longtime member of the Integrity Racing League dating back to possibly even the inception. What kind of got you involved in iRacing to begin with? Do you have any real-life racing experience or anything in that endeavor? And how'd you get started in iRacing, and then how'd you find your way into the Integrity Racing League?
Yeah, once I hit college, I finally got somewhere where I actually had decent internet. I had known about iRacing for a good little while, but I live in the sticks. That's why I'm at my grandma's house. And so getting internet access is not the easiest endeavor. So once I got that, I'd known about iRacing. Like I said, I finally got started into it. And then I think, if I remember right, I think me and Fife had actually just raced quite a bit in some official races. And he sent me a message, invited me to his league. And since then, I was hooked. But yeah, outside of iRacing, definitely had a little bit of experience. I was NASCAR pit crew for a couple of years, did a lot of ARCA racing and stuff like that. Was able to do a race for Junior Motorsports. Did a lot of John Hunter Nemechek and his dad Joe. So yeah, I've had my feet a little wet in the big sport.
Well, excellent. So thanks to James for joining us and being an admin in the league, and also for his sponsorship in the All In Truck Series. And that's a natural pivot to the All In Truck Series. We're going to start with them this week and highlight the Truck Series a little bit here at the top of the show. And the results from tonight's race. Brandon Six gets his first win tonight in the All In Truck Series at Pocono, leading a race high 39 laps. Looks like a pretty dominating performance there. Um, Looks like 4 cautions for 16 laps in a 50-lap race, so a decent amount of green flag racing, it looks like, even though Pocono, the cautions do seem to take forever in a day. Guillermo Alvarez gets a good solid run in second. Joe Slama finishes third. Jacob Hyde fourth. And then James Hudson finishes out the top 5. So our 2 guests here on the show tonight in the top 5. William Ridgway finishes 6th. James Skelton 7th. Lance Gentles continues to be strong and consistent and finishes 8th. Jim Fife 9th, and a good run for Alan Roll getting a top 10 finish there on the lead lap. So congratulations to all of those guys. I wasn't able to take part tonight. I'm trying to get prepared for the 24 hours of Spa. So Jacob, talk us through the race and what we saw tonight.
Yeah, it was a fun race. I enjoyed being a part of it. You're right in the fact that Brandon pretty much had the top car, or truck, I should say, excuse me, for most of the night, but he had a lot of challengers. There was great racing at the end between Brandon and Guillermo. They raced really hard but really clean for the last 5 to 10 laps. Then from there, I think Caleb during the early part of the run was very competitive and could stick with them, and I could hang with them here and there as well. We had a good clean ending to the race, so a lot of different racing, a lot of guys racing together. As you mentioned there towards the tail end, even Papa Fife and Alan Roll got a top 10 out of that. One big wreck that kind of, took out some people who were competitive as well. But other than that, like I said, it was a pretty decent race, and Brandon really was the class of the field tonight, and congratulations to him on getting not only his first win for the Truck Series, but his first win in Integrity Racing League as a whole. So congratulations to him.
Absolutely. Brandon's been somebody in the Cup Series that I've raced around a decent bit, and I've raced around him a little bit in the Truck Series. He's a clean driver, but he's got plenty of speed, so it's good to see him get his first win in the Truck Series. Let's actually go ahead and transition to the point standings and the chase grid for the All-In Truck Series. James Hudson, our guest tonight, is still the points leader, despite only having 1 victory. So James Hudson's your points leader there. Guillermo Alvarez, Jacob Fife, Lance Gentles, Matthew Wright, Brandon Six locks himself in tonight, which actually took a person off of the chase grid by virtue of winning a race. Greg Trigo has a win, so he's in the chase as well and locked in. And so we've got a pretty tight points battle as the top 10 will make it in. As of right now, Randy Fash, Cody Smith, and Brian Terry would be in, but you see Josh Buckley is 14 points back, Daniel Holloway 45 points back, Alan Roll and Maxime Thuriot. And Maxime's got a lot of speed, so he could always maybe get a win here before we start the chase. But James, as the points leader, you look at that chase grid, you've already locked yourself in, but we've got a vast amount of drivers that have won a race this year and made the racing a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's for everybody that shows up every week. I think there's a pretty good consistent 15 to 20 that show up every week. It's been really, really good racing. I've like I said, this is my focus point. I love racing the Cup and stuff like that, but I just don't have the time to get fast in that series. And as much as I've raced before, for some reason I can't get a hold of it this year. So I mainly put my focus into the trucks and trying to just put consistent finishes together. Luckily, I got my win last week, so kind of locked myself in. I think I was doing pretty good on points anyway, so just nice to have that little bit of monkey off your back. You can really focus on the chase when it comes around.
All right, and I know as somebody that's got a win in the Cup Series, I know really how much of an impact that can have on your driving, because you can really concentrate on, man, this is all I really care about is wins at this point to try to get those bonus points. But I'm not really sure and maybe you can clue me in here, James, on this. If wins count for bonus points in the chase for the Truck Series and how that kind of phases out.
To be honest with you, I think they do, but I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. But yeah, like you said, from here on out, it's focusing on wins. You're locked in, so you can kind of take a few more risks. I really like how we have the 3 pit stop rule in place, so it makes the strategy come into play a lot more. It took some learning. I think after a couple races, you kind of learn don't use your tires up too quick. So, but yeah, I think I think a win will bring you bonus points into the chase.
All right, so we'll look into that and try to get everybody an answer on that for the next week's show. So let's go ahead and move on to the. It looks like maybe Jacob wanted to enter. Jacob, do you have us an answer on that? Maybe you do.
Yeah, it's the same structure as the Cup Series. So if you have a win, it's bonus points to start the chase. But once you get into the chase, those are gone after the first round, unless I believe it's still the case in real life and in the Cup Series. If you win in a round, you automatically move on to the next round, that type deal. So it's the same premise as as a Cup Series. The only difference between the two is that there's not as many people who get in, and the rounds are the rounds are generally the same, but the amount of people eliminated is different. Instead of, I think, 4 people in the Cup Series, it'll be 2 in the trucks.
All right, and it's just a reminder to everybody when we're talking about the Chase Grid, this is both for the Cup Series and the Truck Series. Integrity Racing League is actually using the 2016 NASCAR playoff system, so the Chase, what NASCAR used last year. So we're not doing the playoff points, and those race wins only count for bonus points in the first round of the Chase, so they don't carry over to the second and third round like they do this year in real life. So remember that we're using the 2016 NASCAR Chase playoff format. So let's go ahead and transition to the Cup Series on Monday night. And I don't know anything except who the race winner was. Christian Challenger gets the win, leading 113 of the 151 laps. And Andrew Fayesh finishes second there. David Radler third. Caleb Eisenhower finishes fourth. A good strong running for the de Blasio brothers, who have I think for the last month and a half have been nose to tail at just about every racetrack we've gone to. They finished 5th and 6th. Jacob Fife 7th. Colton Landis finishes 8th. Sam Roush 9th. And Guillermo Alvarez 10th. But from talking to you guys in the pre-race show, in the pre-show meeting, it sounds like despite the fact that Christian led a race high 13 laps, that it really wasn't a dominating performance. James, you were there last night. Give us your feedback on that race.
Oh man, the up front, I really couldn't tell you much because I was stuck in the back. I like tonight, I got involved in a little incident in the beginning of both races this week, so I was kind of crawling and grabbing my way back up as much as I could get. I ended up finishing where I started. So up front, you have to talk to Fife. I think he stayed most of the time up there. So, but
kind of.
Yeah, it was good racing all the way around from what I could tell.
All right, Jacob, since you were up there, talk about the leaders. You told me that it was maybe not a dominating performance despite the fact that he led a race high 113 laps.
Yeah, up front is such a relative term, James. No, I actually watched the broadcast this morning and kind of got an idea of how things went. I think Radler and Fayash towards the end there gave Christian a little bit more run for his money than probably what was expected. I know during the last round of pit stops, which were green flag, Radler actually got out ahead of Christian, and through the last run had been able to keep up with him. But right after either a lap or two after coming out of the pits ahead of Christian, Radler hit the wall and got a little squirrely, and that's what made the final lead change for the night, and Christian was able to get ahead of him at that point. But all in all, the racing was pretty good. We had 5 cautions during the event, but 4 of those were in the first 50 laps or so, and then we had a nice green flag run up until about 2 laps to go, where a couple guys got involved into an incident, and then we just finished under caution. But for New Hampshire, and at least by what I've heard as far as official racing went, the previous week we did much better than most would have expected, and certainly an improvement over what we did at Kentucky. So that was good to see. I enjoyed it, and challenging, very challenging. You had to be able to work the bottom in order to complete a pass. It could be done. It's just you had to be very patient, and it was very hard. It's a very challenging track. So congratulations to Christian on the win. We had a good crowd come out. We had 35 drivers show up. So thank you to everybody who came out, and congratulations for running in a solid race with limited cautions. That's what we're looking for.
Well, it always helps when you suspend me, Duel, Chris Schitzler.
Wasn't going to say anything.
Half of Two Degree gets suspended.
It's much quieter. I don't know why. It's just,
Well, we try to bring entertainment when we can't bring speed. If you can't bring speed, at least bring some laughter to the series.
There you go.
Let's go ahead and transition.
I was kind of looking for an interview last night on y'all's little podcast. I'm kind of jealous.
I was actually pretty bummed. I actually didn't get to take part in the Two Degree simulcast of the race. I was going to, but as I was telling you guys before the show, a late night meal did not go exactly as planned, and I just wasn't feeling up to par on that endeavor. So let's go ahead and transition. Yeah, exactly. I was not feeling well. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and transition to something a little bit cleaner and talk about the chase grid for the Cup Series. Brad Patton maintains the lead there with by virtue of his 2 wins. Adam de Blasio, Guillermo Alvarez, Todd Thomas, and Michael Dole, I guess, are now pretty much officially locked in, because I don't believe we're going to get to 16 individual winners as long as Christian's in the league. Jay Heisman is in pretty good shape there with 100 points cushion between him and 17th. Jacob Fife, Josh Campbell, Cody Smith, and Eric de Blasio. They're on the left side of the page, and if you're on the left side of the page, you're probably in good shape here with about 8 races left to go. James Hudson on the top of the right side of the page, and maybe a little bit of danger. We'll talk to him in a second. Caleb Eisenhower, 23 points. Alan Pajari, Nick Terbuck, and William Dunn is fought back to put himself on the plus side. So good to see him back in the positives there. Braden Coppinger rounds out your top 16. So a couple of good drivers there still on the outside looking in. But things seem to be taking shape a little bit here late in the season. James, you're like I said, you're on the right side, so you're 36 points to the good right now. But we know how quickly that can change if somebody gets a victory here late in the season.
Yeah, definitely. I know I got a race coming up here, and not next week, but the week after, that I have to miss. So that's going to put me right back on the bubble. Just kind of, it's like you said, it's hard to get a win in this series. So I know last year I was able to sneak a win out of Darlington and put myself in the chase. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe I can sneak another one away, or either, rely on some bad luck of other drivers and just keep putting myself, try to knock a few more top 10s, maybe another top 5 or 2 down, and get in. I know it really, really helps with the new rule in place with the pros. I hate it for them, and then again, I'm very happy that it's in play, that the pros points don't count. So that makes it a lot easier on me getting in, points wise at least. I know it was really, really tight. We don't quite have as many different winners this year as we did last, so it looks like it might be a little easier to get in, but it's gonna be tight again.
All right, and it is going to be a great run to the finish there, and I think having guys like Christian in the league and Fash that can win each week, and Busa coming in and grabbing wins when he wants to race and stealing wins, it adds a whole new dynamic. And seeing Fash not being eligible for the point standing and all those guys not being eligible, you see we only have 5 non-pro winners this year. So points are definitely playing a bigger factor this year, and I think that's maybe a good thing. It'll be fun to see how that plays itself out. And as a special treat to Mr. Greg Trigo, who has been begging us to update the Clean Driver Award, we're going to go ahead and do that and update everybody where we stand currently on the Clean Driver Award. Greg Trigo, by virtue of, if I can scroll to the right here, if it'll let me, Greg Trigo, by virtue of doing running 89 laps per incident, is currently in control, solid control, a 15 lap per incident lead over Kent Weatherall for the Clean Driver Award. And Kent, the defending champion of the Clean Driver, has a long way to make up if he wants to get that Clean Driver Award for a second year in a row. Guillermo Alvarez is there in third, Alan Hajari fourth, Jay Heisman is there in fifth, and I know Jay would like me to make sure everybody's aware that he is still the Integrity Racing League lap leader. He's run the most laps in the league this year at 2,577. But Kent has made a little bit of ground there up. He's only 29 laps back with 2,548. So a lot of data there to look at. Jacob, again, we talked about this the last time we look at it. When you look at this list, all of these guys in the top 5 in the Clean Driver Award are actually guys that are also on the chase grid currently.
Yeah, they're either in or they're right
Very
on the
close.
cut line and close to getting in. I think it goes back to staying clean, consistency, and also keeping in mind that those clean races get you 2 bonus points as well if you're able to have a 0 incident race, and those add up to the overall chase grid as well. Because when the end of the year rolls around, if you have let's say 36 bonus points from clean races that maybe somebody else didn't have, or maybe somebody had too many incidents and they lost 15, that's a big swing. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as we work our way closer to Richmond. And it's going to play a vital role into who is able to make it into the chase and who's not. As you look at the cut line, I think it's about 5 points or so separate the line itself, and then there's a bunch of people within a race worth of points that can still strike. So definitely going to be a tight battle coming into Richmond.
All right, so to start looking ahead to next week, we don't have another week off for the Integrity Racing League in the Cup Series until we're done. So we're getting ready for Indianapolis next week. Oh boy, a snooze fest that'll be. 2.5 miles around the square. I hate the place. I don't want to drive it, but I guess I might show up on Monday night. We'll throw this to Jacob. Jacob, if you're turning laps at Indy, the worst racetrack in the history of the world.
Yeah, please don't hide your true feelings, Todd. My hurt feelings. I haven't done any laps at Indianapolis yet this year, but usually it's a pretty decent place for me anyway. Apparently not as much for Todd, but he says about every track we go to. So we'll see how he turns out come Monday night. But it's a unique track, and it's acquired taste, and not one that Todd has apparently. But I think it'll be a decent race. It's 80 laps, and it should be usually turns into a strategic type of race at one point or another, whether it's early in the race or later in the race, because of the lack of laps, and usually a fuel run type of strategy comes into play. So everybody will have to be on their toes, and hopefully we'll have another solid race like we had at New Hampshire, and limited amount of cautions, because they take forever around Indianapolis. I do remember that much. So
yeah, I know one of the reasons that you typically get a little bit more strategery at Indianapolis is a factor to consider is you don't lose a lap if you pit. As long as you're within 10, 15 seconds of the leader, you're not going to lose a lap if you pit. So that normally encourages people to do a little bit more short pitting and trying to gain track position. I just hate the place because it's turn left, 90-degree turn left, then drive straight for a half hour, and then make another 90-degree left. It's just annoying to me. But moving on to happier thoughts, the Truck Series is at a track I actually do have a little bit of speed at, and that's at Michigan. So as the all-in truck administrator, Jacob or James, take us around Michigan and the Truck Series and what we can expect there next Tuesday night.
I know the trucks at Michigan usually put on one heck of a show. It's a big enough track, and you kind of carry a lot of speed in these trucks. Very little braking is involved, so it almost gets into a draft session. But usually the racing does end up pretty good. I think I can usually hang on pretty decent there. I will disagree with you that Indy is the worst. I would have to say New Hampshire is the worst track, though. Just putting that in there.
I don't like Loudon either. It's just the turns are just awful to me. I'm not sure why. I've never really enjoyed Loudon, but so that's going to wrap up the show for us this week here on the Integrity Racing Show. Thanks for joining us. Sorry, I'm not feeling 100%. Try to get through the show for everybody, so hopefully you enjoyed it and you can laugh at my expense a little bit. But we'll be back next Tuesday night when hopefully I'm feeling a little bit better and we can recap the races at Indianapolis and at Michigan. So thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll catch you again next week.